This is video 1 in responding to claims that libertarians make. If you have other claims they make that you want me to respond to, put them in the comment section below and I'll get around to them. Okay, so this one is the very common refrain from libertarians, or some libertarians anyway, that taxation equals theft. This is simply not the case. Whenever you engage in a transaction, you will know ahead of time what it is that you want to buy and what the price of that item is, and in addition to that, whether or not it has a tax duty associated with it. Not all things that you buy have taxes associated with it, by the way. So, knowing that if you engage in that transaction, there will be a price to be paid to include the tax duty, they nevertheless make the decision of their own free will to engage in that transaction. Now, if you can find a libertarian who has someone holding a gun to his head, or a knife to his throat, or a knife to a close family member's throat, saying, if you don't go to the store and buy yourself a new pair of jeans and a nice sweater, I'm going to shank your child or shoot you, then you have a libertarian, or anyone else who this happens to, you have a person who is then being forced to engage in some particular transaction. No one does that to any libertarian, such as I know, and inasmuch as that is not happening to libertarians, they are voluntarily engaging in a transaction which they seem to believe has a mutual benefit for all the parties involved. It does them no work to say after they've engaged in the transaction, oh my God, I got ripped off. Well, buyer beware. You knew the terms, you knew the conditions of the transaction before you engaged in it. You thought about it, and for whatever peculiar reasons that were important to you, you decided it was nevertheless worth it to engage in that commerce. Similarly, with what about income tax? No one is holding a gun to these people's heads and forcing them to work. It quite simply is not happening. Or if it is happening, ask these people to give you the name of the person who has enslaved them, so that way we can send reinforcements and the police to their house or wherever they're being held against their will to liberate them from their captivity, and also to ask their captors, say, if you're holding these people hostage and forcing them to go get jobs that they're not free to quit, why do you lock them away someplace and give them access to the internet so they can ask for help? By the way, getting on the internet, a voluntary transaction which costs you money and on which you pay some taxes. If you don't like the terms and conditions of the contract, don't sign the contract. You do not get to enter into a voluntary contract and then, at the end of the day, say, you know what? That contract I voluntarily consented to, now that I've thought about it, had some terms in it, had some clauses in it that I don't particularly like. I'm going to opt out now. No, you must opt out